Hello and welcome to your program of choice, People, Politics and Power, on Africa Independent Television, AIT. I am Uju Eje, your anchor. There are two constitutionally backed processes through which politically misbehaving political office holders can be sanctioned. For those in the executive arm of government, such as Mr. President and governors, they can be impeached. On the judiciary, the National Judicial Council can wield the big stick on erring judges and justices. The disciplinary hammer falls on the legislator through the recall process. A recall is the power of voters to unseat a serving lawmaker before the expiration of his or her tenure. It is one of the most seemingly harmless but powerful constitutional instruments in Nigeria's evolving democratic system. Although the provisions for recall are enumerated in the Constitution, ostensibly as tools for accountability, the electorate rarely tests them. While there have been a few recall efforts in the past, no member of the parliament at the local or federal level has ever been recalled. On August 28, 2005, a recall referendum conducted by INEC in Plateau State was unsuccessful as the incumbent retained his seat with 74% of the votes. Simon Lalong, then Speaker of Plateau State House of Assembly, had reportedly secured a court injunction against his recall, but INEC under Maurice Iwu went ahead with the exercise. There was also a failed attempt in Jigawa State during the former Governor Saminu Turaki's tenure. In the current dispensation, there is the Senator Dino Melaye'S recall saga. He first approached the court trying to stop his recall, but the ruling did not go his way. What then is the legality of a recall in Nigeria? Section 69 of the 1999 Constitution as amended says, a member of the Senate or of the House of Representatives may be recalled as such a member if there is presented to the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission a petition in that regard signed by more than one-half of the persons registered to vote in that member's constituency, alleging their loss of confidence in that member. And the petition is thereafter in a referendum conducted by the Independent National Electoral Commission within 90 days of the date of receipt of the petition, approved by a simple majority of the votes of the persons registered to vote in that member's constituency. Section 116 of the Electoral Act also supports the recall process. In Kogi State, Senator Melaye'S opponents collected about 188,588 signatures to recall him from the Senate, which represents 52.3% of 360,098 registered voters in his senatorial district, Kogi West. The recall process, which started with verification of signatures submitted to INEC on June the 10th, 2017, proceeded to the verification of signatures on Saturday, April 28. Let us take a view of the outcome of the exercise.
Representing that constituency, we have declared, announced the results. We now want to do the declaration formally as derived from the results. Declaration of results. State, Kogi, Senatorial District, Kogi West Senatorial District. Total number of registered voters, 351,146. Total number of signatories to the petition, 189,870. Total number of signatories present at verification, 20868. Total number of signatories verified, 18742. Percentage of verified signatures, 5.34%. 5.34%. I, Professor Peto Gabriel Moti, hereby affirm that the information on verification of signatures to the petition for the recall of Senator Dino Melaye'S of Kogi West Senatorial District has taken place on this day, 28th day of April 2018, and that the verified signatures is 5.34% of the total number of registered voters in the constituency, and has therefore not satisfied the requirements of the law for referendum. Signed by me and the two agents, agent to the petitioners and agent to the member petition. Again, thank you very much, gentlemen.
Saturday's exercise was the first full-blown attempt to recall a federal lawmaker in the Fourth Republic. There was a futile attempt in May 2000 when 343,000 petitioners wrote to the Independent National Electoral Commission for the recall of Joseph Kennedy Waku on 4 grounds: undemocratic utterances, poor performance, stark illiteracy, and contempt for party hierarchy. This goes to show that the voter who gave the lawmakers their mandate have the power to recall him. Let's take some more reactions from the field on Saturday in Lokoja, the Kogi state capital, during the conduct of the verification exercise.
I think on our part too, this is the first time this kind of thing is going to take place in the country. The people are not very aware of it. What we know as electorate here is that we are hoping to see the election come up by 2019 or by the death of the honorable member, the Buba Jibril. So we are hoping to see an election in the next 3 months or 2019. So the recall is not, people are not very aware of the process. I think that's what's responsible for the low turnout. I thank God I'm witnessing it because it's a constitutional provision that we have not witnessed in this country. So
because they are there for us, but they are not doing what we send them to do. Not just him, but obviously he's the one facing the consequences.
It's normal because it's in the Nigeria Constitution that if a represented member is not performing well, they can make his recall if they meet up to the requirement. So I don't see anything bad about it.
The program is People, Politics and Power, and our focus is on the power of the voter and the recall process in Nigeria. Joining me now to discuss this are Franklin CHUDE, a legal practitioner and public analyst. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
And distinguished Senator Victor Ume, representing Anambra Central Senatorial District in the National Assembly. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
We'll take a short break and we'll be back with more analysis.
Our website, aitonline.tv. Also on YouTube at youtube.com/AITonline. Interact with us on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter our handle is @AIT_online. Our email address is feedback@aitonline.tv. Better still, download the AIT mobile app to your phone, tablet, or any device from Google Play Store.
All right, let me begin with the lawyer here. We have seen the recall process in Nigeria from the prologue and some of the outcome. Now, what are the legalities involved in a recall process?
Well, like you rightly pointed out, Section 69 is clear and very unambiguous about it. The legalities, you notice, is all about the voters and for the voters. Now, if you look at the session, they have 2 subsessions. Nowhere in those sessions was verification mentioned. Now, but verification is one of the guidelines by INEC, to give effect to the process. And you can see that that verification is something that has turned out to be the albatross for people that do not want to follow the legal process properly. Now, the verification exercise is a criminal, some people are alleged to have committed some forgery, and it is a criminal offense. I commend INEC for coming up with such idea as a verification, you know, because if they hadn't verified, because the Constitution doesn't say anything about verification, you know, those two subsections. But if those guidelines, like verification and giving notice to the person involved that this is going on, which are not there, and there are three things, obviously, that are obvious from the guidelines of INEC. But these are very legal instruments that have been put into the Constitution to give effect to it. And in as much as I commend INEC for that, I think they should still follow up this issue of people forging documents and use that to teach other people a lesson as a deterrent. Because if you do not do that, people will continue to forge. And like you see, things go on in this country, and they go on as if to say nothing has happened. But with this more micro society, they could use that as an example for people. Because if they use that really as an example, people will learn the lessons. In the bigger election, all this talk about crime will be reduced. But I commend INEC for those guidelines they put in.
So what are the other legalities involved?
Well, the legalities involved is that if you recall the fellow back, that's the end of it. It shows the sovereignty of the electorates, because it shows that everything is about the electorate. And if you look at some sections of the Constitution, Section 14 and all that, it tells you that your electorate, you are the boss. And this obviously shows that the electorate is a boss.
All right, let me ask the distinguished senator, what readily comes to mind when you think of the recall process, being a lawmaker yourself?
Well, I must say that the recall that was put in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in Section 69 is in accord with the definition of democracy. Government of the people, by the people, for the people. So you can see that democracy is all about the people. And for you to be elected into any position, be it executive or legislative, you must be elected by the people. In other words, you must get the votes of the people for you to ascend to such positions. It is envisaged that if the people will give you mandates to be their president, their governor, their lawmaker, the people must also retain the right to show disapproval to either your actions or your performance. If you do not meet the expectations of the people, in the case of a lawmaker, that lawmaker needs to be recalled home. You bring him back and send another person who can meet your expectations. That is the purpose of recall. And we've seen it tested now, and you can see that it is not something that you can just wake up in the night and then want to either remove the president or the vice president, the governor or the deputy governor, or the lawmaker himself. The Constitution provides a process through which that can be achieved. In the instant case, the Constitution has spoken of more than half of the registered voters sending a petition to the chairman of the Independent Electoral Commission requesting that this lawmaker should be recalled home. You know, so when you deposit the petition, of course, the petition will be signed by more than half of the registered voters in that constituency. Now, the question now is, on receipt of this petition, will INEC move ahead immediately and begin to conduct the referendum through simple majority of the votes? Because the Constitution spoke about simple majority of the registered voters voting in that referendum. It will be wrong to proceed that way. You need to authenticate the signatures appended to the petition. Otherwise, somebody can wake up and stay in one room and write more than 2/3 of the signatures. You know, when you bend this one this way, you bend this one this way, you bend this one,
and
at the end, you can even get 2/3.
All right, we have seen a trend for something that is constitutionally provided for in the law. We see people going to court most times to stop the process. We saw it with Lalong, and we saw it also in the case of distinguished Senator Dino Melaye. Why is it often challenged in court? It's already in the Constitution, it's law.
That is what the courts are for. You see, when people talk about, you remember some time ago, we all quarreled about what we called the ouster clauses. Now, you cannot wish away the possibility of people challenging their rights in court. You know, that is why you find out that even people, armed robbers, condemned armed robbers, they have the right to go to court. Now, even when you see that those things are there, have you followed the process? There are so many things that you may challenge in court. It's like when they even say that political parties, for instance, that there is an internal affair, so you can't challenge it. But the court went into what might result to what you might call judicial activism. To say, yes, even though the Constitution says we cannot, but we can challenge the process to find out whether it was done properly. So people should continue to go to court, and we should continue to encourage people to go to court. You see, when people fight and discourage and are not very happy with all this court process, you find out that eventually they find themselves in court when it is their own turn. So the courts are there for people to assess. They will continue to assess it, and the courts will continue to give them rulings and judgments. So we should not bother ourselves with people going to court. They must continue to go to court, and they should be encouraged to go to court.
It is also noticed that almost all the attempts, in fact, all the attempts to recall a serving lawmaker, whether at the local or federal level, has not succeeded. Start from JCN Wako, the former Speaker of Plateau State, Lalong, and of course, this one, it has never really succeeded. What factors would you say are responsible for that?
Well, I think one has to think about the initiators of the recall process. You know, if the registered voters in the constituency genuinely desired a recall of their lawmaker, you can see that they will willingly append their signatures to the petition requesting the recall. And if they do that and get it submitted, if INEC goes further to implement the provisions of the Constitution by putting in process a recall process, those genuinely aggrieved registered voters, the electorate, will come out to get their signatures verified and authenticated. But what we have seen in the plethora of cases had been politically motivated recall process by either somebody wielding executive authority who does not like the face of the lawmaker anymore, wanting to use people to get him recalled. And in the process, they descend into forgeries. You know, you list names of people who have died as having signed a petition. So it's not just when you submit the petition, you have done the work. When they were dumping the petition against Dino Melaye last year, I saw it on television and I laughed. I knew that there was no way you can hurriedly put together about 189,000 signatures of registered voters within that constituency to be able to initiate a genuine recall process. So even
Why
when
did you think that?
No, I know it's very impossible. You know, because there were foundations laid to that recall process. There was disagreement between the senator and his governor and all that. They were, involved in public altercations. So you could see that it is one person behind trying to use his powers of being the executive governor to go and bring back this lawmaker. It doesn't work like that. And when I saw that on television last year, particularly when Senator Dino went to court, I felt that he wasn't approaching it the correct way. The place to wait for them was what happened on Saturday. It was very difficult for anyone to gather those number of signatures without finding people who have died, many years, maybe 2 years earlier on, their names will still appear as having co-authored a petition. So that was the area he would have grabbed them. And he went to court. It's the constitutional provision, section 69, that a lawmaker can be recalled. So if you go to court to ask the court to stop INEC, at that time, INEC hadn't even done anything, because you can challenge the process, like my brother said. If the process you are proceeding with is not in accord with the law, you can go to court to say this process is either compromised or is faulty, just like impeachment. You can't go and say the House of Assembly cannot impeach a governor. You can only fault the process of the impeachment, because Section 188 is very clear on the impeachment of a governor or deputy governor. So the whole thing is on the burden of proof that genuine voters really authored this petition. And from what we saw last Saturday, you could see that 5%, 5% of the people said to have done this appeared, making a mockery of the whole thing. Out of 52%, now only 5% came out. So all those signatures were somebody in the bedroom was drinking Coke, writing about 200.
Well, we can't say that for sure.
That's what we are told.
All right, Mr.
The petitioners became ghosts on Saturday.
Mr. CHUDE.
Yes, please.
Is it also possible that there could be some legal lapses, or maybe the process is cumbersome and this has also contributed?
You see, it's more political than legal in this sense, and the sense that the Constitution has provided for what ought to be done. And then INEC has given its guidelines for follow-up to it to give it effect, And then the legal questions there are quite limited. Interpret the Constitution the way it is and the INEC guidelines. Unless you want to challenge the INEC guidelines, but you cannot be able to do that effectively because they have the right to give effect to the Constitution, the provisions of the Constitution. So the legal effect here still remains that the constitutional provision was followed, and then they could not meet what was required of them.
The process itself, could it also be said to be cumbersome? Because some people say some of the electorates do not even understand what the process is all about in the first instance, and which is why it's rarely used. Yeah,
they're putting the person there. You see, if you underrate the electorates, then you make a mockery of it all. They're putting the person there, and the law has said this is the way to recall him. It's not easy, and it couldn't have been easy, because if it is easy, once you don't like anybody, you don't like the face of the person, you recall him. It's just like amending a constitution. There are reasons for it not to be easy. That brings some other issues that should have come up. This issue of impeachment and what have you. But,
all right, Senator, how come it is often difficult for the electorate to now utilize this constitutionally given power to recall their lawmakers? What you find most times is the electorate mumbling, grumbling. They rarely put this constitutional provision to test. Why?
Well, it's not an easy process, like what we witnessed last Saturday. It turned out to be a referendum of some sort between Dino Melaye and his governor. Because when you submit a petition to recall somebody, and going by what you suggested, the voters didn't know what was going on. There was no way they wouldn't know what was going on, because they were said to have authored the petition. So they would be expecting another round of action, having submitted the petition. But it turned out that, like we saw, many of them were not aware that there was such a process because they didn't sign anything. And it becomes a political witch hunt, and that was why it failed. If you call somebody to come and authenticate something he didn't know anything about, he will not even come out, you know. But if it was something that was engineered because of failure of on the part of the senator, you know, they will be eager to look out for a date of that verification. And before you say that somebody has failed and you want to recall him as a lawmaker, the person must have woefully failed, you know, for you to succeed. Because before you can activate genuine grievances against a legislator is not an executive, you know, he's a lawmaker. Before you can move against a lawmaker, you say, oh, we've lost confidence in him because the Constitution says loss of confidence. That loss of confidence must be as a result of the lawmaker not representing the people the way he ought to represent them, speak on their behalf the way he ought to speak on their behalf, or in the recent cases where they now introduce constituency projects, that the lawmakers runs away with constituency project funds. You know, for you to be able to use that to mobilize the people, it must be something that is too glaring for anybody to see. Otherwise, the day you put the verification to take place, the voters will go to market. They will not come out. So it's a very difficult process. You know, for you to be able to use that to get a lawmaker back, there must be something that is glaringly obvious that he has done to be able to get the interest and attention of all the voters in that constituency. You know, it's not an easy process.
Is it also a situation of maybe an electorate apathy, let me put it that way, that they may not really repose much confidence in the process like some of them have shown during elections, and of course, if you look at what happened in Kogi State too, that majority did not turn up?
Yeah, something just agitated my mind now, you know, that never did. Why do they have to sign? Because you see, those people, when they voted for you, did they sign? Now, we have a lot of them that are illiterates. I'm just thinking aloud now. I've never thought of it. We have a lot of them that are illiterates. Now, and in law, you have what you call illiterate jurat, where you have to thumbprint.
Thumbprint, yeah.
Now, if you're asking a market woman that doesn't have a signature, most of them don't have, like we see every day in court.
Sure.
You know, if you're asking the person to come and sign, and at the same time to come and authenticate your signature, the person might just say, you know, I don't understand this English, and it goes this way. I think they might, well, it's a difficult thing. Again, if you say thumbprint, how can you verify thumbprint? So I think they better leave it at that as it is.
I thought they said thumbprint is peculiar only to the person who has it, and it cannot be forged.
Yeah, we need to go a bit further then in authenticating and verifying those things. That means we need to be a bit more scientific. You can see that we are not even scientific in our voting. That means you introduce some other machines that might even be better to know whether you really thumbprinted, you know. But so far, maybe in future there's room to improve these systems.
Like what that was why I asked earlier. Yeah. Is there anything that could be introduced to help the electorate utilize this exceptional constitutional provision effectively?
Yeah, maybe like we just noticed now the issue of when I went to vote you in, I didn't sign signature. Why would I now have to sign to remove you? Because I probably sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. I think we are talking about petition, okay. And when you author a petition, you need to sign the petition. There's no way you can write something without putting a mark to show that I wrote this, you know. So because the Constitution says submitting a petition to the chairman of Independent National Electoral Commission envisages that the author of that petition must sign it, to authenticate it. Otherwise, the Independent National Electoral Commission will be acting on nothing, a document that is not authenticated, so to speak. But having said that, I would think that contrary to your statement that apathy was the problem with the part of the problem, I don't think it is apathy. I would rather say that the process was snubbed by the voters, because this was a strange process to them. From every intent and purpose, you see that this thing was contrived against Senator Dino Melaye, because we were all here in Nigeria when it all started, when the senator was engaging his governor openly for non-payment of workers' salaries and all. He was a thorn on his flesh, and suddenly signatures appeared for his recall. It was obvious that it was not an original petition coming from the electorate to recall their lawmaker, because there would have been any reason for them to recall somebody who was speaking on their behalf. If there's any senator in Nigeria that is known for activism, I think Melaye is one of them. And those things he had been championing in Kogi State. You could see his reaction to the failed recall process. He continued to hammer on those points, that workers must be paid. He can never be silenced for speaking on behalf of the people. And this is the type of thing the electorate will want. Somebody who will be speaking on their behalf. If you are failing them, somebody who is putting you to task, you're not delivering, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. And if you turn out to become a thorn on the flesh of the person who is in charge of the affairs of the government, and the person turns against you, the electorate will come around you and defend you. So that was what happened on Saturday. They snubbed it. But anytime we have a clear case of glaring failure on the part of a lawmaker, we use that to test the process. All these processes you have enumerated in the program, from Plateau and other places, Joseph Wako and the rest of them, you could see that all these things come up as a result of political disagreement between the leaders within the state or in the constituency. And they proceed against each other, thinking that they can use the electorate. If you use the electorate blindly, they will disappoint you. So like
the country actually has to look at some of the motives for this recall process. Is that the point you're trying to make here?
Yes, the intendment of the Constitution is very good and clear. That where somebody fails abysmally, leading to loss of confidence on the part of those who
the electorate has a right
elected the person. The Constitution has given them a right to recall the person, but it has to be originally activated by the genuinely aggrieved, disappointed voters, not by somebody using the handle, like a tweet on behalf of the electorate. So if you try to do it on behalf of the electorate will pull away from you and you'll be stranded. That was what happened on Saturday. But I believe that there must be a time where Section 69 will succeed. There must be a time a lawmaker will overreach his bounds, do things to the utter disgust of his constituents.
And be sanctioned.
And be sanctioned. They can move, and before you can do that, it's not something you can start in a week. There must be concerted effort to expose the activities of this lawmaker that will bring him to disrepute among the constituents of that constituency. For them to say, yes, okay, let's proceed and bring him home. He has failed us.
Now, when you look at the monies expended by the Independent National Electoral Commission in each of the cases that we've highlighted and in this one of last Saturday, is it really worth the while, considering that nothing concrete has been able to come out of all of them?
You see, certainly some of these senators have done things that are disgusting. Some of them have done things that are worth recalling. But the problem still remains in the question you asked me earlier. Why has it not succeeded? That might, the literacy level of the people might be part of it. And then, talking about your question, back to your question about the money expended on it. Well, they will continue to spend money. I think they are read in the newspaper, somebody in APGA is about being recalled as well, about something. So it's
that one will be another huge joke.
So they will continue to maybe crack such jokes or be serious with them, who knows. But you see, it all boils down to the literacy level of the people. Because it's not just enough for you to borrow these things from the American Constitution and then bring it to the Nigerian Constitution and hook, line, and sinker expect people to take it. And then when we take some of these things, we get them wrongly. Like, for instance, you hear people talking about impeachment. Maybe that might be a topic for some other day. I challenge anybody to show me where impeachment is mentioned in our Constitution. Nowhere. What is mentioned in our Constitution is removal.
Removal, yeah.
Now, impeachment, they just borrowed it from America. You see, in America, you can be impeached without being removed. But even our courts, superior courts, are falling into that.
That's a bit confusing,
One day we'll get into that. One day, maybe a program for another day. It's not confusing. If you commit an impeachable offense, you can be impeached in America without being removed from office.
So what's the difference between the two here?
I've impeached you have committed an impeachable offense. So you've been impeached. But you've not been removed. Now, that is why in America, you find Clinton or whoever was impeached, but was not removed. So, but in this country, it's a full topic. Unfortunately, I've presented the paper on it. It will take a long time to go into now. But if on any good day, you will find the difference between impeachment and removal. And our Constitution made it clear. Removal. You hear people saying he has been impeached. So, what is impeachment? He has committed an impeachable offense. Yes, they first found that in America. Oh, has he committed an impeachable offense? Yes, he has been impeached. Now you take the next process of removing him. You know, but here in the country, we just say impeached. And even our superior courts fell into that language. Anyway, back to what we were saying about the literacy level of the people. Why I brought about this is there are a lot of things we have borrowed from the American Constitution, which we have not really put in properly. You know, because
we have to adapt to our own situation.
We have to adapt to our situation. We adapt when it suits us. Like, for instance, in America, I hear the vice president is the Senate president. In Nigeria, they say, no, they need the Senate president, and what have you, and what have you. But then, if you come to this issue where we are facing now, the topic at hand, we have a problem. The literacy level of the people will continue to haunt us. The market woman who signs the petition, it's not the market woman that signs the petition. Somebody signs a petition, and I feel disgusted with the senator from my area. I sign the petition and I take him to them. Then I need the market woman and co to come and sign that yes, they agree with me that this person be removed. You know, is it possible that that market woman that doesn't have a signature, some literally people have a signature, will sign? Those
now you're talking of abuse now, that the process can be abused. Yeah. If the market woman cannot sign and cannot thumbprint, then?
No, you can't thumbprint, for sure.
No, but in this case, well, I'm looking at the Nigerian scenario, which is all about signatures. Nobody has talked about thumbprinting yet.
Yes.
So are you saying that it's possible that the process can be abused in that regard?
No, if you put thumbprint now, without putting the machinery in place to check thumbprinting, whether right or wrong, it will be abused. But now you cannot. What you have is signature. What I'm saying is that some of these people's rights are probably not being, they are not able to, you know, to exercise the right, so to say, fully. Because if the woman really, though these ones have been, maybe have been politically motivated, but assuming that the woman or the illiterate wanted to really remove the senator, because you see some House members, some politicians, you can see have lost elections when it came to election, woefully, and they've won. It means that some of those people were probably not popular with the people, and left alone, they would have asked to be recalled. But the process might be a bit cumbersome for them.
Well, the program is... Okay. Okay, maybe you can quickly chip in what you want to say.
On the cost of a failed exercise you talked about, I think INEC should really be commended for what it has done in Kogi, not because it failed to achieve a target, because the target was to recall Dino Melaye. INEC was discharging its constitutional responsibility, because the Section 69 says when the petition is signed by more than half of the registered members of that, registered voters in that constituency, and it is submitted to the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, the commission shall, within 90 days of the receipt thereof, conduct this referendum. INEC cannot say, oh, we will not take the, once we receive petition, they must act upon the petition. That is a constitutional responsibility. Going into it and it becomes a hoax, and it didn't succeed, it's not the responsibility of INEC. INEC should not be blamed. And more than anything else, I would say that the performance of INEC last Saturday in this referendum is a great thing to cheer about. Because when they were moving into that process, there was apprehension in some quarters that, oh, even Dino, that was a subject of the recall, was hospitalized. How was he going to supervise the verification of all this, and that he would run into trouble? But they went in, you can see how they transparently conducted the verification and came out with a shocking result, 5%. In other times, you would have had that 80% was verified.
The program is People, Politics and Power. We'll take a break. We'll come back shortly with more analysis.
Stories and more on our website, aitonline.tv. Also on YouTube at youtube.com/aitonline. Interact with us on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. Our handle is @AIT_online. Our email address is feedback@aitonline.tv. Better still, download the AIT mobile app to your phone, tablet, or any device from Google Play Store.
You speak the truth, you die. You lie, you die. I, Dino Melaye, I have chosen to speak the truth and die. Àjẹkún ìyà ni ó jẹ. Àjẹkún ìyà ni ó jẹ. Ẹni tí ò tó ní nà tí ń dènà dé ni. Àjẹkún ìyà ni ó jẹ. Àjẹkún ìyà ni ó jẹ. Àjẹkún ìyà ni ó jẹ. Ẹni tí ò tó ní nà tí ń dènà dé ni. Àjẹkún ìyà ni ó jẹ.
Distinguished Senator Dino Melaye there, and his, some people have said a special number. And of course, he has also repeated it with his, shall I say, success or freedom from last Saturday's recall exercise against him in Kogi State that did not succeed. Well, there is another pertinent issue to look at in the whole of this, the issue of fictitious names and signature. Now, Mr. CHUDE, is this not a criminal offense? I mean, for the government to be led on to the point of spending huge sums only to find out that the signatures and names are fictitious?
Honestly, in as much as I commend INEC for what they've done, but I hope they will pursue this issue, at least to teach people a lesson. Forgery is a criminal offense, very serious offense. Now, if you let this be, people will continue to do that. So they should never allow this go. They should use, at least this is more for them to be able to implement, to be able to prosecute. Because if not, in the larger election, you will see more of it. They should please not let this go. It's a criminal offense, and forgery by government is more heinous. So they should not let it go.
When you say it's a criminal offense, yes, to what extent?
Well, it's punishable under the assent laws. If I had the penal code and the criminal, you will see it. It's punishable. We all know that forgery is punishable, but I don't know exactly the sections now. But I know it's punishable. It's there in penal code, the criminal code, and all the
forgery and altering.
So what they ought to do now is to prosecute these people. They're there. The names are there, so and if you cannot find them, you hold the government people that brought those names, and then teach You see why offenses, people keep committing offenses in this country, is that they get away freely with it. If I know I'm going to get away freely with an offense, I'll commit. But you find that all the people that commit these offenses, when they're outside this country, they behave themselves. We all behave ourselves in everything. But when we come into this country, because if any law that is not punished, that doesn't have a sanction, whether custodian or what, it's no law. Nobody would bother to look at it as law. You just look at it as a debating society. You know, people just talking and talking. And that's what it's going to be. I hope really that they will take up this issue of forgery, teach these people a lesson, so that other people would know that forgery is an offense, and then it will help in other things the government is doing.
So what can be done to ensure that this kind of thing does not recur in future, especially the aspect of leading government on to spend so much money only to find out that it's been a waste?
I want to align myself with the view of my brother here. Last year, when this petition was submitted to the Independent National Electoral Commission, it was done with fanfare. There were ringleaders that were the conveyors of this petition to the Independent National Electoral Commission. They were dancing in front of the Independent National Electoral Commission, that they have submitted this, that Dino must be recalled, they've lost confidence in him and all that. These people can be identified. They are still there. Even playing back the video of how, when they submitted this, you see their ringleaders. They should be immediately arrested. INEC, not just INEC, the police should arrest them. Because if, from what we have read, which I believe was also true, there were names of people that died about 2 years ago that were in the list of petitioners as at last year. How can somebody who died 2 years ago in 2016 sign a petition in 2017? So those people that submitted that petition to the Independent Electoral Commission knew that they were submitting a forged document to the commission. And you don't need to punish everybody. The ringleaders are sufficient to be sent to jail. Because in Nigeria, whatever anybody tries to do, it calls it politics. It is politics. Oh, anything goes. Not everything will go in politics. At least from me, you know that I have fought impunity and lack of respect for our laws, you know, all through. So they say that anything is politics. That's why somebody can go and forge documents. When I was national chairman of APGA, some people forged signatures of my colleagues, with which they proceeded to announce that I have been removed. I took it to the police. They had to go to Kaduna, to the forensic laboratory of Nigerian police, and got a report that those signatures were forged. But because it was politics, those who were sponsoring them to get me removed, you know, fought and closed the case. The matter was taken to court, and he died in the court. So what I'm saying is that there must be a deterrent to people who are there to be hired at any point. People come out to demonstrate. You know, from Anambra, I'm from Anambra Central. I don't need to come with people from Anambra to Abuja to demonstrate. Can go to Deidia or Bega and hire people. They come and demonstrate in front of INEC on my behalf if I want to get something done. That thing is not good. You know, so people should know that you don't find yourself where you ought not to be at any time in the name of politics. You know, somebody will just tell you, carry this thing and submit to INEC. These are signatures. Then you carry band, dance troupe, and go and submit and recalling somebody. It has failed now on Saturday. And tomorrow they will do it again. So what should be done in the instant case is that those who submitted this petition to INEC, you know, they didn't post it. They didn't post the petition. They went with it, you know, with fanfare and submitted it. And during verification, they became ghosts. Those people that are known, the good faces that were shouting, the leaders that collected money to do this, they should be arrested and then arraigned in court.
All right, just before we go, Mr. CHUDE, what lessons can we take away from this, quickly?
The lessons we take away from this is that impunity does not pay. We should deal very well with the people that have committed these offenses, And they are not just the populace, but the people that committed in that field. We should deal with them, and then we should know, it teaches us one lesson, that if you want to do things, you do them properly.
Well, thank you very much for coming on the program, distinguished Senator Victor Ume, representing Anambra Central Senatorial District at the Senate. Thank you for coming on the program, and of course, Mr. CHUDE, a lawyer and a social commentator. Thank you for coming on the program.
Be left to do their work.
Distinguished Senator.
People who don't like the faces of lawmakers.
Distinguished Senator, thank you very much. And this is where we wrap up the program today, People, Politics, and Power. Don't forget to join us tomorrow for another package. My name is Uju Ejeye.